Soggy Science here. It's our 18th episode. Huh? It's been going well. Thanks for your feedback, everybody. Quack, 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 quack. Well, if it sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's not a duck. Scientists, after hearing quacking type sounds over low frequencies, recently discovered what it was. And this is in the Antarctic. And it turns out that minke whales are making this long-ranging quacking sound. Very cool. So Denise Reich of the NOAA Northeastern Fisheries Science Center discovered this just recently. Apparently all the way back from 1969 on, they've been wondering what the heck that was. So, interesting discovery in the Antarctic. You'd think they would know it was whales when you're dealing with acoustics and long range, but apparently these sounds were heard so far away, they had trouble believing that it was biological or a whale or whatever. So, really cool discovery. Congrats, Denise. Awesome job. Can't wait to hear more about that one. South Korea ferry, Seawall ferry. Such a tragedy for the family, mainly school kids. And apparently there are 500 divers diving on it. A lot of them not trained public safety divers. Not the best choice. But, looks like everybody's still safe, but it is a horrendous job. Having done some of this myself, it's definitely not fun. They're dealing with cold water and extremely limited visibility, and unfortunately their discovery of dead bodies are often children, and often when they run into them in their face, in their mask. So really sad for the families. My condolences, and hopefully we'll get some closure and get the rest of the remaining victims out of there so families can move on and have some closure. Apparently there's still 160 people left. Still digging out around what's going on. A lot of anger towards the crew and suggestions that they didn't handle things appropriately. So really sad. Let's hope we can learn from this to avoid it in the future. Interesting news. A Canadian company has reached an agreement with Papua New Guinea to do deep water mining. So it looks like the age of mining the seafloor has begun or will begin very shortly. This particular vent is in 1,500 meters of water. There's been some recent research that shows that they're quite productive in earth elements, gold and copper and things like that. Nautilus Minerals is the company out of Canada, and they've reached an agreement. And according to them, the research says the vents recover within 5 to 10 years, and apparently there's another neighboring vent fairly close by that's populated by the same organisms that should help repopulate what they take out. So we'll see. Resource or environmental disaster remains to be seen. But Genie's going to be out of that bottle here very quickly. Anyway, Japan whaling. Wow. We talked about the court decision, world court decision. Japan was going to abide by it. Now it looks like they're not. Their Northern Pacific whaling was not in that decision. It's an Antarctic decision. But it looks like they're talking about going back to the Antarctic in spite of the decision. So, Sea Shepherd's going to be busy, it looks like. We'll see what happens. I guess one whaling advocate wants to feed President Obama, whale meat during his visit to Japan. That might go over like a Led Zeppelin. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Flight 370. Woof. Don't know much to say. The underwater drones are at it. 90% of the area has been searched. Still no signs. It's going to be a long one. Back to the old Coast Guard commander from Australia. They haven't even found the haystack yet, apparently. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hope for some good luck. Anyway. Maine lobster. Maine lobster fishermen have really been in trouble lately because there's a super glut of lobster. They've been freezing lobster, trying to keep stuff from the market. Now there are reports coming out that baby lobster are less prevalent. Maybe because of global climate change. Since there's been a population boom, this might just subsequently be the kind of readjust. Nature has a way of kind of readjusting things. So we'll see if this is a natural fluctuation because the population was so big and now it's naturally penduluming back, right? Who knows? I look forward to more data on that one and get some better ideas of what actually may be going on here. But maybe good news for the Maine lobster fishermen. Their prices should go up accordingly because it's been at an all-time low. So sometimes too much of a good thing is not such a good thing. Anyway, we'll see how it develops. Super crazy interesting. Lots of news lately about hammerhead captures. We talked about that the other episode. Apparently it's illegal to land hammerheads, scalloped, great hammerheads, etc. in Florida. Most of these images have come out of Florida. I've got into some pretty heated debates for some posts about them and talking about how they're highly prone to fatigue and often don't make it out of a catch and release situation. Apparently the law in Florida states that you can't land, even for a picture, a hammerhead if you catch it. It's definitely red listed on, the IUCN list, and it's up for endangered species status with the U.S. So, if you catch a hammerhead, directly fishing them is probably not a good idea. We know they're sensitive to that. And beyond that, it's illegal to land them and take pictures with them. So, they're supposed to be released without coming out of the water and not photographed or anything else. Anyway, we'll see how that develops, but important animal and highly sensitive to working too hard under the exercise of a capture, especially shore fishing with long fight times. So let's leave the hammerheads alone. Better to fish for something else. I'm not against fishing by any means, when done appropriately and within the law. Anyway, turns out 1/3 of U.S. fish, more happy news, apparently are illegal. Imported, that is. They're not following the law that we live by in the United States, and we're obviously one of the biggest fish consumers in the world. So, interesting situation. Apparently 27% of bluefin tuna, Pacific bluefin tuna, are. Other news on that, apparently 96% of the Pacific bluefin population is gone and not recovering. So, looks like it will be the final of the 3 species of bluefin tuna to be protected. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. Important species commercially, obviously. All of those who enjoy sushi out there, best to avoid it. But it is a highly in-demand fish. So we'll see how that goes in the near future. Those numbers may be higher. And with the recent news of fake fish being labeled as other things, commercial fish purchasing gets even more complicated. Better to get it yourself. Anyway, on more positive news, friend of Soggy Science, Steve Lewis, just sent back, was nice enough to autograph a book. And Staying Alive, I highly recommend it. It's a very good read for all the divers out there in the world, not just tech divers, but recreational too. There's a lot of good skill-based stuff in there. Just for clarity's sake, I bought the book. He didn't give it to me, so I'm not promoting something he gave me for free. I just thought it was a good read. So if you get a chance, check it out. And on our final note, turns out I'm a big advocate for citizen science, and we have a report, I'll pull this one, that states that citizen science with gray reefs and the tropical coral reefs for counting populations and looking at distribution and fluctuations is as accurate as telemetry and non-citizen science-based approaches. So that's good news out there. Gabrielle Viana did the work on that, and that's great news for all of us that like to get out and help in conservation or research. So get out there and volunteer. And for all you citizen science-based organizations out there, way to go. Reef Check California is one I actively participate in here regularly. So get out there and help. Anyway, thank you for suggestions. Subscribe and keep sending questions and comments. And check us out on social media. Get out into the water, get wet, and get soggy.